What kind of Republican the governor chooses will certainly have a major impact.
Oh, yes, and this is going to be a very tough decision for Governor Doug Ducey here in Arizona. President Trump has certainly split Republicans across the country, and here in Arizona, a state that is increasingly politically purple. The Republicans in the Senate need every single vote they can get. Replacing the irreplaceable will be a fraught decision, and it is certain to upset one wing of the Republican Party or the other.
The death of maverick Republican Senator John McCain, long expected. Still, it sent a Grand Canyon-sized shock through his beloved state.
Even talking about it makes you a little weak-kneed.
The big question for Republican Governor Doug Ducey, how do you replace a maverick?
You know, the good thing is that, first of all, there's a deep bench for him to choose from. There will never be a replacing John McCain.
McCain's pick, says he's former campaign manager.
I think a Hispanic woman probably would have been his pick for a successor.
Ducey has the power to handpick McCain's successor to serve until a special election is held in 2020. The Republican Party here torn by conservative pragmatists like John McCain and the ideologically driven supporters of President Trump.
You don't need to go too far to the right because you still have to appeal to a wide swath of independents that vote here in Arizona.
For years, McCain angered the GOP base with his moderate stance on immigration reform.
We have to have comprehensive immigration reform, which gives people a path to citizenship.
So does the Arizona governor pick someone who will carry on McCain's legacy? Someone like McCain's wife, Cindy, former McCain Chief of Staff Grant Woods, or former Arizona Senator John Kyle? Or does he name someone Trump loyalists will embrace, who will be a more reliable vote for the president's agenda? The choice may become clearer after Tuesday's hotly contested GOP primary to replace outgoing Senator Jeff Flake.
26 years in uniform.
Arizona Congresswoman Martha McSally, a former fighter pilot like McCain, was viewed as his natural replacement.
Now I'm deployed to D.C. to fight for Arizona.
She's now in a tough race with a former state senator and conservative firebrand Kelly Ward.
The last guy that was a pilot became a senator in Arizona.
And controversial former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was pardoned by President Trump.
Now, the decision to replace John McCain will be made next week, after tomorrow's primary and after he is laid to rest. Maybe then the decision might be a little clearer and a little easier to make. Jim?
Miguel Marquez, thanks very much. Adolfo, if I could ask you, because you're in the unusual position of having been a McCain staffer, but someone who...
surrogate. Yeah.
A surrogate who now supports... I didn't want to, underplay you, demote you, but someone who now supports President Trump.
Yeah.
What brand of Republican do you think would be better for the Republican Party to fill his seat? Would it be a staunch pro-Republican in the Joe Arpaio camp, or would it be someone who's more like John McCain?
Well, I think somebody like John McCain for a variety of reasons. No, I have my prejudice. I think he's just about the greatest ever. But beyond that is, this might sound strange, it's still his seat. And I think there is something to be said about filling in that tradition. The report that was just played is accurate. There's a very wide bench on it. I personally would love to see Grant Woods fill the seat. I think he's quite experienced. It would be in the tradition of Senator Coons, so to speak, of Delaware, was Chief of Staff to Senator Biden. But there are a number of others. I mean, it could be Senator Kyle. That's not what's out the realm of possibility. But to answer your question, I think it would be Frank, I'll say it, be a mistake to turn to I think the more extreme right wing of the Republican Party. The irony of this, I think, had this been under different circumstances, I think Congresswoman McSally would be at the top of that list. But that's not the case, of course, and she should win tomorrow for the nomination.
Dana, do we know where the Arizona governor is on this? Because obviously this has been, despite how recent this loss was, this has been in the offing for some time, or at least this possibility. Do we know where the governor, which direction he's more likely to go?
No. I mean, that's the honest answer. At least I don't. I mean, maybe somebody else has. He's been very, very cautious, very close hold, for obvious reasons, for the sensitivities. You don't want to start talking about something. And in fact, he's gone so far as the opposite. anybody who lobbies for it or
Yeah.
lobbied for it while Senator McCain was
I was surprised.
dying from cancer, you're out. And that's
is
the way to do it.
not a bad rule.
That's the
Yeah.
way to do it.
But
You know, I think
you'd be surprised, wouldn't you? I'd like your opinions, both of you. You'd be surprised if he would turn to the more extreme conservatives of the Republican Party in Arizona, wouldn't you?
Would I be surprised? When it comes to McCain and the idea of what you said, filling McCain's seat, yes.
Yeah.
But
It has to weigh
he's-
on him, isn't it?
Right, but he's also a politician, and he knows where the Republican Party is in Arizona,
What
that also
price he
weighs
might
on
pay
him.
personally. Susan, a thought, and I want to get your thoughts, Simone, on.
And you know, you can think of this as the last 2 years of John McCain's term.
Correct.
You can also think of it as the first 2 years before a re-election fight. And you might want to choose a Republican to position that person to win their own full term.
Map's a lot more difficult for
2 years.
Republicans in 2020.
And you know, the reality is nationally and in Arizona, this is Donald Trump's party. In that Arizona primary tomorrow, the 3 Republican candidates have tried to align themselves not with John McCain, but with Donald Trump. And it seems to me that is the reality that the governor is going to be facing.
Simone, I just want to, for the sake of our audience too, and get your reaction to this, remind folks of really one of the most memorable moments of the 2008 campaign. And this is when John McCain was asked during a town hall about his opponent, Democratic opponent, of course, at the time, Barack Obama, and how he responded to this person. Have a listen.
I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No.
No, ma'am. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thank you.
That kind of stand, Simone, is one that we too often see now by outgoing politicians, right? Folks who aren't running anymore and don't have to face the difficulty of a primary challenge. Who has the gusto, right, the backbone to issue statements like that today?
I don't know who in the Republican Party has that gusto or backbone. It surely doesn't seem like Paul Ryan, who is outgoing, and still I look for his spine weekly. I think what's so striking about that clip for me, I know there's been so much conversation about it happening on social media today, but I think what's striking about the clip is I think Senator McCain's intent was absolutely correct. For some folks might see that as a slight to Arab Americans, but it wasn't. He stood forcefully against this vitriol that had creeped up throughout his campaign from his running mate and some other folks, and he wanted to be sure that people knew that that's not what this was about for him. And I wish that in today's climate, so many more politicians, including the president, would be willing to stand forcefully in the face of vitriol and just beat it back and be very clear about who it is we are as a country and where it is the president's standing.
Adolfo, I'll put you in a difficult spot here.
Good.
To be fair,
Yeah.
that is not the kind of comment that this president has made. And frankly, at his rallies and town halls, he has tended to stoke rather than to put out flames like that. Are you willing to challenge the president when he makes statements like that?
Well, I'm not sure the president quite made that statement, but I understand that the president at the rallies, particularly when he appeals to the core Trump supporters, uses rhetoric that is completely unconventional in politics. There's no question about that. You know, it's not my style. It's not my message. It really isn't. But again, I go back to the underlying policies that drive even most of the establishment. You're asking about Paul Ryan and others. The fact is that, and frankly, including Senator McCain, in terms of the positions he took, that I think the vast majority of Republicans are looking the direction that Donald Trump is taking the country with the economy, deregulation, and so forth. And that's why, well, they do, and that's why.
Can I just say though, I want to be really cautious. The rhetoric that Donald Trump espouses at his rallies is racist, misogynistic, not just controversial. It is like sometimes he's parroting white nationalist talking points. I don't believe that's who the Republican Party is, but maybe it is.
No, it
but
is.
when is somebody going to beat it back? Is that who they
Quick
are?
final word, because we do have to go, but I want to give you a chance to respond.
Well, I think there are voices there. You mentioned other people. There are Senator Sass or other people in the Republican from Nebraska that have different points of view.
I'm
They
from
do,
Nebraska.
and they do express. I went to school in Nebraska, and they do express those views. I think there are plenty of people in the Republican Party that want to express themselves differently while still supporting President Trump's policies.
All right. Can be a difficult balance. Thanks very much to the panel. We've had a lot to discuss. Breaking news coming up. New details.